Look at this box. If you go online right now and look into the preparedness world, this empty space is exactly what they are selling you. They hook us by driving our minds into panic over what is missing inside this box. They want you lying awake at 2 a.m. asking, what material things does my household lack to survive what's coming? And then they sell you the solution, a consumer treadmill of freeze-dried meals, water barrels, and tactical gear to fill the void. And they promise that if you just buy enough stuff to pack into boxes, you will finally buy peace of mind. But you can never buy enough to satisfy fear. The more you stockpile in isolation, the heavier the box gets. But you aren't building stability. You are building a private prison. Welcome to the Fearless Household. I'm Michelle. And today we are throwing out the empty box and the panicked checklist because true readiness completely changes the starting line. It doesn't begin with what you lack. It begins with a different question, a more foundational question. What has God already entrusted to us? Lately, I've been spending a lot of time in Matthew 25 looking at the parable of the talents, and it has completely changed how I look at this. In that story, the master gives 3 servants different amounts of money based on their ability. So one gets 5, one gets 2, and one gets 1. Now, the master did not expect the guy with 2 talents to magically produce 5. All he expected was for him to multiply and steward what he was actually given. And he didn't compare the 2-talent servant to the 5-talent servant. He just judged them strictly on their individual faithfulness to what they were handed. The only servant who got condemned was the one who let fear paralyze him. He went out and buried his talent in the dirt because he was terrified of the outside world. And that is exactly what traditional prepping forces us to do. It makes us pull inward and isolate and bury our resources in a basement because we are scared. So we either become leeches on a system or we lock ourselves away in isolation. But true stewardship is not passive preservation. It is active multiplication. I want to invite you to radically shift your mindset. God's primary preparedness plan has never been an isolated physical stockpile. It has always been his people, receiving his gifts and then living and serving and sharing and preparing together as one functional body. Every single household has been given a unique mix of gifts and talents and resources and relationships and opportunities. Those are your talents, and they weren't given to you to be hidden away behind a deadbolt out of fear. When you transition from fear to faith, your strategy changes. You stop trying to own and manage every single piece of infrastructure yourself to protect your family from your neighbors. And instead, you look at what you have received and you learn how to connect those specific strengths to a trusted local ecosystem. This ecosystem is what we at the Fearless Household call a fearless pod. Every pod becomes unshakable when every household stops comparing, stops stockpiling in isolation, and starts contributing their specific piece of the puzzle. That is how the financial burden vanishes and true peace takes over. To break the paralysis today, we have to take an inventory of our stewardship, not our material lack. And so my husband and I built a specific tool on our website to help you and your family do exactly this. It is called the Household Stewardship and Talents Audit. Now, this is not a consumer checklist. It is a precise 3-step framework. Step 1 is the audit itself, helping you discover the raw gifts and skills and property and relationships that God has already placed in your care. Step 2 is your talent assignment. This helps you identify how your household can faithfully develop and multiply those exact gifts for the benefit of others. And finally, step 3 is your fearless pod integration, where we map out how your unique strengths connect directly into a trusted local network so that every gift has an active purpose. This week, I'm inviting you to do an assignment that is simple, practical, and costs nothing. Go to thefearlesshousehold.com and take the audit. Get clear on what you have received from God so that you can learn how to multiply it. Once you know what you bring to the table, then you are ready to connect. So in our next episode, we are going to look at the real human cost of doing this alone. And we are going to be diving into the loneliest prepper to break down exactly why fear-based isolation makes your household incredibly fragile in a crisis, and how to build the human grid before the power grid. Stop stockpiling and start connecting, and I will see you next time.